The enchantment. In the shimmering world of Loria, where the sky glowed in shades of purple and gold, lived Princess Zira. She was known throughout her planet for her beauty and wisdom, but what truly set her apart was her adventurous spirit. Unlike many royals who were content to stay within their palace walls, Zira often gazed at the stars, dreaming of the worlds beyond her own. Zira's father, King Arian, ruled Loria with a firm hand, believing that their people should remain isolated from other planets, especially Earth. He told tales of humans, warning his daughter about their unpredictability and ambition. Yet, the stories only fueled Zira's curiosity. She wanted to know more about the strange blue planet that danced so far away in the cosmos. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Zira decided to sneak out of the palace. Cloaked in a simple dress, she disguised herself to blend in with the starlit night. Zira took her small spaceship, the Celestial Dream, and set a course for Earth. As she traveled through the starry void, excitement bubbled in her chest. When she landed, the sights and sounds of Earth captivated her. The vibrant colors of nature, the busy streets filled with people, and the sweet scent of flowers were unlike anything she had ever experienced. But what struck her most was the diversity of life around her. Humans laughed, danced, and loved, and Zira felt a deep pull towards them. As she wandered through a park, Zira spotted a young man sitting on a bench, sketching in a notebook. His name was Ethan, and he had dark hair that fell softly over his forehead and warm brown eyes that sparkled with creativity. Zira felt a spark of connection the moment their eyes met. It was as if the universe had whispered that he was special. Gathering her courage, Zira approached him. "What are you drawing?" she asked, her voice soft and melodic. Ethan looked up, startled, but then smiled. "Just a scene from this park. I love capturing the beauty of nature." He gestured to his sketch, which depicted the blooming flowers and the sunlight filtering through the trees. "What about you? Are you here on vacation?" Zira chuckled lightly, realizing she had no explanation for her presence. "Something like that. I'm exploring." As their conversation flowed, Zira found herself enchanted by Ethan's passion for art and life. He spoke of his dreams of traveling the world and capturing its beauty on paper. Zira shared her dreams of adventure beyond the confines of her royal duties, feeling freer than she had ever felt in her life. Days turned into weeks, and Zira and Ethan met in secret, exploring each other's worlds. Zira showed him her magical abilities, revealing glimpses of her powers, how she could summon small lights that danced around her fingertips, creating a spectacle of color. Ethan, in turn, introduced her to human culture, taking her to museums, theaters, and art galleries. They laughed, shared stories, and grew closer with every encounter. However, the bliss of their secret meetings was shadowed by Zira's obligations back on Loria. Every night, she would return to her palace, her heart heavy with the knowledge that her time on Earth was limited. King Arian had plans for her, including an arranged marriage to strengthen alliances with other worlds. The thought of being forced into a life without love terrified her. One evening, while sitting under a blooming cherry tree, Zira confided in Ethan. "I can't stay here forever. My father expects me to marry soon, to someone I do not love." Ethan's expression darkened. "Can't you refuse? You deserve to choose your own path." Zira sighed, her heart aching at the thought. "It's not that simple. I am a princess, and my choices affect my people. I cannot bring dishonor to my family." Determined to find a way, Ethan reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "We'll find a way, Zira. Love can conquer all." His words filled her with hope, and for a moment, the world felt perfect. But just as they were about to share a kiss, Zira felt a sudden chill in the air. Her heart sank as she sensed a disturbance. In that moment, Zira knew something was wrong. Back on Loria, King Arian had received troubling news about his daughter's secret visits to Earth. Enraged by the idea of his daughter falling for a human, he summoned his advisors, who plotted against Ethan and his world. They believed that if Zira continued to associate with humans, it would weaken their defenses and jeopardize their kingdom. The princess was unaware of the dark plans being hatched against her love. As she stared into Ethan's eyes, she felt both happiness and an impending sense of doom. How could she protect him from the wrath of her father? The thought of losing Ethan filled her with despair. The enchantment of their love, however, was strong. Zira decided to visit Ethan one last time before her world descended into chaos. She needed to see him, to hold him close, and to savor the joy he brought her. That evening, as she approached their meeting spot, Zira felt a mixture of excitement and dread. Little did she know that her world was about to change forever, and the love she cherished would soon be tested in ways she could never imagine. The gathering storm. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting a silvery glow over the park where Zira and Ethan met. Zira's heart raced as she approached their usual spot beneath the cherry tree. She could already see Ethan sitting on the bench, sketching with fervor. His face lit up with joy as he spotted her, and for a moment, the worries of her life as a princess faded away. "Zira," Ethan exclaimed, standing up to greet her. "I was beginning to worry you wouldn't come." "I could never miss our time together," she replied, her voice light despite the heavy thoughts in her mind. She stepped closer, feeling the warmth radiating from him, and her heart swelled with affection. They spent the next few hours under the stars, laughing and talking about their dreams. Zira shared her fascination with Earth's art and nature, while Ethan told her about his ambitions as an artist. They were lost in each other's company, momentarily forgetting the dangers that loomed over them. But as the night wore on, Zira felt a nagging tension in her chest. She couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was on the horizon. Her father had a plan, and it was only a matter of time before he set it in motion. "Ethan, there's something I need to tell you," she began, her voice steady but serious. "I've been summoned back to Loria. My father is not pleased with my visits to Earth." Ethan's expression fell, concern etched on his face. "Is he going to force you to marry?" Zira nodded, her heart aching at the thought. "He has arranged a marriage to someone from another royal family. It's all about politics and alliances. He doesn't understand. He doesn't see what's in my heart." "Then we need to do something," Ethan said, his voice firm with determination. "You can't let him control your life like this." "I wish it were that simple," Zira sighed, running her fingers through her hair. "If I refuse, it could mean war. My people depend on these alliances for safety. I can't risk everything." "But what about us?" Ethan pressed, his eyes pleading. "What if we run away? There has to be a way for us to be together without losing everything." Zira felt a flicker of hope at the suggestion, but quickly extinguished it. "I can't just abandon my duties. If I leave Loria, I'll be abandoning my people. They would never forgive me." Ethan stood up, pacing back and forth, frustration building within him. "Your father's rules shouldn't dictate your happiness. We can find a way to make this work. I believe in us." As the tension mounted, Zira watched him with admiration. She loved his passion and determination, but fear gnawed at her heart. "I want to believe that too, Ethan, but the stakes are too high." Suddenly, a soft sound broke through the silence of the night, a rustling in the bushes nearby. Zira's instincts kicked in. "Someone's here," she whispered urgently. Ethan turned, his eyes scanning the area. "What do we do?" Before Zira could respond, a shadowy figure emerged from the trees. It was a group of Lorian guards sent by King Arian to find her. Their armor glinted in the moonlight, and their faces were grim. "Princess Zira," one of the guards called out, his voice booming. "You are needed immediately. Your father demands your presence." Ethan's heart sank as Zira turned to him, panic in her eyes. "I can't go back. Not like this." "Come with me," Ethan whispered, pulling her closer. "We can escape together." But Zira shook her head, tears threatening to spill. "No, Ethan. I can't. I won't put you in danger." The guards advanced, their expressions stern. "You have no choice, princess. Come with us." Zira felt her heart shatter as she looked back at Ethan, desperation etched across his face. "Promise me you'll be safe," she said, her voice trembling. "Promise me you'll wait for me." "I'll wait for you, Zira. I swear it," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. With that, the guard seized Zira's arms, pulling her away from Ethan. She struggled against them, her heart screaming to stay. "Ethan, I love you. I love you too," Ethan shouted, his voice filled with anguish as she was led away. As the guards escorted her back to her ship, Zira felt her heart heavy with despair. The night that had begun with laughter and joy had turned into a nightmare. She was being pulled from the only place where she felt truly alive, and the love she shared with Ethan was slipping away like sand through her fingers. Inside her ship, Zira felt the weight of her father's authority pressing down on her. She knew that the moment she returned to Loria, everything would change. She would be expected to fulfill her duties, marry the man chosen for her, and leave Ethan behind forever. As the engines roared to life, and the stars outside blurred into streaks of light, Zira closed her eyes, imagining Ethan's face. She vowed to find a way to break free from her father's grasp. Her love for Ethan was strong, and she would do whatever it took to protect it. But as she soared through the cosmos, she couldn't shake the feeling that a storm was gathering on the horizon. The world she was returning to was not the same one she had left, and dark forces were at play. Would her love survive the turmoil ahead? Zira could only hope. "You said." The war within. Back on Loria, the palace buzzed with activity. King Arian paced in his grand hall, his brow furrowed with worry. Reports of unrest among the people reached him daily, and whispers of Zira's relationship with a human only fueled his anger. The king believed that alliances were the only way to ensure their survival, and he was determined to keep Loria strong. "Father, you need to see reason," Zira pleaded as she stood before him, her heart racing. "The people need a leader who understands them, not just someone focused on power." King Arian glared at his daughter, his voice cold. "You know nothing of the real world, Zira. Your emotions cloud your judgment. Marrying the right person will bring stability to our kingdom. But what about my feelings?" Zira cried, her voice cracking. "Ethan loves me, and I love him. Isn't that worth something?" "Love is a weakness," he snapped, waving his hand dismissively. "Your duty is to your people, not to some human who will never understand our ways." Zira's heart ached at her father's words, but she stood her ground. "You can't force me into this marriage, father. I won't allow it." "Then you will face the consequences," the king warned, his voice low and menacing. "You will marry the Prince of Valthor, or I will take away everything you hold dear. Your precious earth will be destroyed." Zira felt her stomach drop. "You wouldn't dare," she gasped, her eyes wide with fear. "Try me," King Arian replied, a dark smile creeping onto his face. "I will not let your foolish love jeopardize our kingdom. You have 1 week to prepare for your marriage. After that, we will take action against the humans." With those words, he dismissed her, leaving Zira trembling with rage and despair. The walls of the palace felt like they were closing in on her. She had to find a way to save Earth, but how? As she wandered the palace grounds, Zira's mind raced. She thought of Ethan and the life they could have together. Would he be safe if her father unleashed his wrath? Would he understand the depth of her struggle? Tears filled her eyes as she fought to suppress her emotions. Zira sought refuge in the gardens, a lush paradise filled with vibrant flowers and towering trees. It was her favorite place, a haven of peace amidst the chaos of royal life. She knelt by a fountain, the gentle sound of water calming her turbulent thoughts. Suddenly, a soft voice broke the silence. "Princess Zira." Startled, Zira looked up to see her childhood friend Mara standing nearby. Mara was always a source of comfort, her warm smile instantly soothing Zira's troubled heart. "Mara, what are you doing here?" Zira asked, wiping her tears quickly. "I came to see you. I heard what happened," Mara said, her eyes filled with concern. You can't let your father control you like this. I don't know what to do, Zira admitted, her voice trembling. If I refuse to marry, he will destroy Earth. I can't let that happen. Mara sat beside her, the weight of Zira's burden evident on her face. You have to fight back. You have to find a way to unite our people against your father's madness. But how? Zira sighed. He has the loyalty of the entire council. I'm just one voice. Your voice is powerful, Zira. You have the love of the people. Remember the festival last month. They cheered for you. They believe in you. Zira's heart swelled with hope. You're right. I have to speak to them. I have to show them the truth about the humans and my father's plan. Mara nodded, her expression fierce. Let's gather support. We can rally the people against your father's tyranny. Together, we can save Earth and bring peace to Loria. With renewed determination, Zira stood up. Let's do it. I won't let my father's plans destroy the life I want. The two friends made a plan to gather supporters over the next few days. They would hold secret meetings in the gardens and spread the word among those who still believed in love and peace. As the days passed, Zira's spirit lifted. She felt a sense of purpose that she hadn't felt in ages. However, the clock was ticking. She had only a week before her father's ultimatum would come into effect. On the eve of the first meeting, Zira found herself standing before the mirror, her heart racing. She adjusted her royal attire, reminding herself of the power she held within. She wasn't just a princess. She was a leader, and she would fight for her love. The night air was cool as Zira and Mara made their way to the gardens. Lanterns flickered, casting a warm glow on the gathered crowd. The people of Loria were curious but apprehensive. Zira took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Thank you all for coming, Zira began, her voice steady despite her nerves. I know you've heard the rumors about my father's plans. I stand before you not just as your princess, but as a daughter who loves. The Earth, our neighboring planet, is under threat. If my father goes through with his plan, innocent lives will be lost. The crowd murmured, concern spreading among them. I ask you to join me in opposing this madness. Zira continued, her voice rising with passion. Love should never be a weakness. We can unite our worlds, create peace, and thrive together. Murmurs turned into cheers as the crowd rallied behind her. Zira felt a surge of hope as she looked around at the faces filled with determination. They were ready to stand with her, ready to fight for love and peace. But Zira knew her father wouldn't back down easily. The war within her grew as she prepared to face not just her father's wrath, but the larger battle that lay ahead. She was ready to fight for Ethan, for Earth, and for the future she envisioned, a future where love triumphed over hatred. As the night wore on, Zira felt the winds of change stirring. The battle for her heart, her people, and the future of two worlds had only just begun. The gathering storm. As the sun rose over the kingdom of Loria, the air was thick with tension and uncertainty. Zira felt the weight of the impending conflict pressing down on her shoulders. She had ignited a spark of rebellion among her people, but the challenge ahead was daunting. She needed to strategize, to solidify her allies, and most importantly, to find a way to communicate with Ethan on Earth. In the days following the meeting in the gardens, Zira and Mara worked tirelessly to rally support. They visited neighboring villages, speaking to anyone willing to listen. The stories of human bravery and kindness were met with growing curiosity. Zira knew that the more people understood about Earth, the less likely they would support her father's destructive plans. One evening, after a long day of campaigning, Zira sat alone in her chamber, staring out at the horizon. The stars twinkled in the night sky, and she couldn't help but wonder about Ethan. Did he know what was happening? Was he safe? Her heart ached at the thought of him being in danger because of her father's wrath. Suddenly, a soft knock on her door broke her reverie. It was Mara, her expression filled with urgency. Zira, we need to talk, she said, her voice low. What is it? Zira asked, her heart racing. I've heard whispers among the council. Your father is planning to take drastic measures soon. He wants to send a delegation to Earth, but it won't be for diplomacy. He's preparing for war, Mara explained, her eyes wide with fear. Zira's blood ran cold. What? He wouldn't. He would, Zira. He sees humans as a threat. He believes that conquering Earth will solidify his power here at home. You must act quickly, Mara insisted. Zira clenched her fists, feeling the anger boiling inside her. We have to warn Ethan. If he knows what's coming, maybe he can prepare. We can't let my father destroy his world. Mara nodded, her expression resolute. We need to find a way to communicate with him. There has to be a way. As they brainstormed ideas, Zira suddenly recalled the old crystal communicator her mother had once used. It was rumored to be stored in the royal archives. If she could find it, perhaps she could send a message to Ethan and warn him of the impending doom. Let's go to the archives tonight, Zira said, her determination growing. We'll find the communicator and send a message to him. Under the cover of darkness, Zira and Mara sneaked through the palace halls. The air was still, and the shadows seemed to whisper secrets of long-forgotten tales. They reached the archives, a vast room filled with scrolls and ancient texts, dust dancing in the moonlight. Zira felt a thrill of excitement mixed with fear. She had always been fascinated by the history of her people, but tonight she was focused on one thing: finding the communicator. Together, they searched through the shelves, their hands brushing against old tomes and artifacts. Zira's heart raced as she called out, "It has to be here somewhere." Finally, in a dusty corner, she spotted a small, ornate box. With trembling hands, she opened it to reveal the crystal communicator. It glimmered with an ethereal light, and Zira felt a rush of hope. "Let's see if it still works," Zira said, her fingers dancing over the smooth surface of the crystal. She closed her eyes, focusing on Ethan's face, picturing him vividly in her mind. "Ethan, can you hear me? It's Zira. I need your help." For a moment, there was silence. Zira's heart sank, fearing that the communicator had lost its power. But then, a faint voice crackled through the crystal. "Zira, is that you?" Her heart soared at the sound of his voice. "Ethan, you have to listen to me. My father is planning to attack Earth. We need to prepare." The urgency in Zira's voice cut through the static. "What? Why? We haven't done anything," Ethan replied, disbelief echoing in his tone. "I know, but my father sees us as a threat. He believes that conquering Earth will secure his power here in Loria. You have to warn your people," Zira urged, her voice rising with desperation. Ethan's voice grew serious. "We'll prepare, Zira. I promise. But what about you? Are you safe? I'm doing everything I can to stop him. I've rallied support among my people, but I need your help too. We have to unite against this threat," Zira said, feeling the weight of their shared responsibility. "Count on me," Ethan assured her, determination ringing clear in his voice. "We'll fight this together, no matter what." As the conversation continued, Zira felt a sense of relief wash over her. They had a plan, a united front against her father's tyranny. But she knew that their battle was just beginning. After their conversation ended, Zira and Mara returned to their chambers, the weight of their mission pressing heavily on their shoulders. Zira felt a fire igniting within her, a fierce determination to protect her love and her world. The next day, Zira called for another gathering in the gardens. She needed to strengthen the resolve of her supporters and prepare them for what was to come. She stood before the crowd, her heart pounding with anticipation. "We are at a crossroads," Zira began, her voice clear and powerful. "My father seeks to plunge our worlds into chaos. But together, we can fight back. We must prepare for war, not just to protect ourselves, but to protect the lives of our friends on Earth." Cheers erupted from the crowd, their voices rising in unity. Zira could feel their determination fueling her own. As the gathering continued, Zira began to outline their strategy, focusing on unity, strength, and compassion. She knew that they were fighting not just for themselves, but for love, a love that transcended worlds. But little did Zira know that her father was already aware of her plans. King Arian had eyes everywhere, and he was determined to crush any rebellion before it could take root. As night fell over Loria, the winds howled ominously, signaling that a storm was brewing, not just in the skies, but in the hearts of those who dared to defy the king's wrath. The war was coming, and Zira would stand at the forefront, ready to fight for her love, her people, and the future of two worlds. The Clash of Worlds. The atmosphere in the kingdom of Loria grew thick with anticipation and fear. Zira had rallied her supporters, but as the days passed, the threat of war loomed ever larger. News had reached her that King Arian had dispatched his elite forces to prepare for an attack on Earth. It was a race against time, and Zira felt the weight of her responsibilities heavier than ever. Under the pale light of the moon, Zira stood on the balcony of her chamber, overlooking the sprawling lands of her kingdom. Her heart raced as she thought of Ethan, waiting anxiously for news. They had only recently made contact, yet their bond had deepened into something profound. Zira felt as though her very soul was tethered to his. She had to find a way to stop her father, not just for her people, but for the man she loved. In the early hours of dawn, Zira summoned her closest allies to discuss their next steps. Mara, along with a few other trusted friends, gathered in her chamber, their faces etched with determination. "We need to act now," Zira urged, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions whirling inside her. "We have to disrupt my father's plans before he can strike Earth. If we can gather more allies and perhaps even find a way to sabotage his forces, we might have a chance." Mara nodded in agreement. "But how do we do that? The king's forces are well-trained and loyal to him. They won't easily be swayed to our cause." Zira pondered for a moment. Then an idea struck her. What if we can create a diversion? We could use the old forest paths to lead a small group into the king's camp under the cover of night. If we can cause chaos, it might give us the time we need to send a message to Earth and prepare them for the attack. "It's risky," one of the allies spoke up, concern evident in his eyes. "If we get caught—" "We don't have time to hesitate," Zira interrupted, her voice resolute. "Every moment we waste is a moment closer to war. We must take this risk for our future." The others exchanged glances, weighing the danger against the urgency of their mission. Finally, they all nodded, a silent agreement forming among them. As night fell, Zira and her small group set out into the darkness, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and hope. The forest loomed ahead, thick and shadowy, the ancient trees standing as silent witnesses to their quest. They moved cautiously, relying on the skills they had honed over the years. Hours passed as they navigated the dense foliage, avoiding patrols and slipping past the guard towers that lined the edges of the king's camp. Zira's heart raced as they approached the clearing where the king's forces had set up their base. With each step, Zira felt a surge of adrenaline. They'd reached the perimeter of the camp, the flickering campfires casting ominous shadows on the ground. She motioned for the group to stop, whispering instructions on their next move. "Remember, our goal is to create confusion. We want to make it look like a larger force is attacking. Mara, you and I will set fire to the supply tents. The rest of you create noise and distraction at the north side. Let's move quickly." The group nodded, their faces filled with determination. Zira and Mara slipped through the shadows, their hearts pounding with anticipation. As they reached the supply tents, Zira's hands trembled slightly, the weight of their mission pressing heavily on her. Mara pulled out a small vial containing a flammable liquid and handed it to Zira. "Here, use this. It'll ignite quickly." Taking a deep breath, Zira poured the liquid on the tents, her heart racing as she struck a match. The flames leaped up, illuminating the darkened forest and causing a commotion to erupt around them. "Fire! Fire!" a voice shouted, echoing through the camp. Soldiers scrambled, their shouts of alarm mingling with the crackle of flames. Zira felt a rush of exhilaration as chaos erupted around her. Meanwhile, the rest of the group was creating noise, banging pots, and yelling to create confusion. The soldiers were pulled in different directions, trying to understand what was happening. Zira and Mara slipped away from the scene, their hearts racing with excitement. "Let's head to the communication tent," Zira urged. "We need to send a message to Earth before they realize it's just us." They moved swiftly through the chaos, eventually reaching the communication tent. Zira's hands shook as she fumbled with the equipment, desperately searching for the right way to send a message. She felt a sense of urgency as the sound of footsteps approached. "Zira, hurry," Mara whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Zira quickly activated the communicator, her mind racing. "Ethan, if you can hear me, we've disrupted the king's forces. You must prepare your people for the attack. We're fighting back." The message crackled through the communicator, and Zira held her breath, praying that Ethan would receive it. Moments later, a response came through, his voice steady and calm. "Zira, I hear you. We'll prepare. Stay safe." With their message sent, Zira and Mara exchanged relieved glances, but their moment of triumph was short-lived as the sound of footsteps drew closer. "We have to go," Mara urged, her voice filled with urgency. They slipped out of the tent, their hearts racing as they maneuvered through the chaos of the camp. Suddenly, Zira felt a hand grab her arm, yanking her back. She turned to see a soldier, his eyes blazing with anger. "You won't get away this time, traitor," he growled. Without thinking, Zira kicked at his shins and freed herself from his grasp. "Run, Mara," she shouted as they sprinted into the dark woods, adrenaline coursing through their veins. The sound of pursuit echoed behind them, the soldiers yelling as they scrambled to catch up. Zira pushed herself to run faster, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't afford to be captured. Her mission was too important. As they raced through the forest, Zira could hear the rustling of branches and the pounding of feet behind them. "This way," Mara shouted, veering off the main path and into a thicket of trees. Zira followed, her heart racing as they maneuvered through the dense foliage. They ducked low, weaving between trees and brambles, desperately trying to outpace their pursuers. Finally, they stumbled into a small clearing, panting heavily. Zira leaned against a tree, her mind racing. "We can't stop here," she said breathlessly. "We have to keep moving." But before they could catch their breath, the sound of footsteps grew louder. Zira's heart sank. They were trapped. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through the chaos. "Zira, Mara." It was one of their allies, sprinting towards them. "Come on. This way." Without hesitation, Zira and Mara followed their ally as he led them deeper into the forest. They ran until they were far from the chaos of the king's camp, the sounds of pursuit fading behind them. Finally, they collapsed onto the forest floor, panting and exhausted. Zira looked at Mara, relief flooding her heart. "We did it. We sent the message." Mara smiled weakly, though her eyes were filled with concern. "But at what cost?" "We're still in danger, Zira." Zira nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of their choices. They had disrupted her father's plans, but the battle was far from over. The king would not take their rebellion lightly. As they sat together in the quiet of the forest, Zira knew that the true fight for their worlds had only just begun. The clash of destinies was drawing closer, and she would stop at nothing to protect the love she had found on Earth and the people she cherished in Loria. The final confrontation. The air was thick with tension as Zira stood at the edge of the hidden glade, her heart racing. The day had finally arrived. King Arian's forces were approaching, and the moment of reckoning was at hand. Zira gathered her allies, their faces a mix of fear and determination. They had come so far, united in their cause to challenge the king's tyranny, but now the reality of battle loomed over them. As they prepared for the confrontation, Zira took a moment to address her supporters. "Today, we fight not just for our lives, but for our freedom and the future of both our worlds. We have allies on Earth who believe in our cause. We are not alone. Together, we can stand against the king." A roar of approval rose from the gathered crowd, and Zira felt a surge of strength within her. She looked at her friends, Mara, Jarek, and the many villagers who had joined their cause. They were ready to fight, ready to defend their right to live without fear. The sound of marching boots echoed through the trees as the king's forces drew near. Zira's heart pounded in her chest. "Positions," she called out, and her supporters quickly took their places, forming a line of defense around the glade. From her vantage point, Zira could see the king's army approaching, a sea of soldiers clad in armor, banners flying high above their heads. King Arian rode at the front, his expression cold and determined. Zira could feel the hatred radiating from him, and it made her heart ache. As the two sides faced each other, Zira stepped forward, raising her voice to reach the king. "Father, I stand against you. You cannot crush our spirits or our desire for freedom. The people of Loria will no longer live in fear." King Arian's laughter echoed through the clearing, chilling Zira to the bone. "You think you can defy me, Zira? You think your little rebellion can stand against my might? You are a traitor to your own blood. I am a traitor to tyranny." Zira shouted back, her voice unwavering. "You will not destroy Earth or the lives of those who wish to live freely." The king's eyes narrowed, and he raised his sword high, signaling his troops to advance. "Then let it be war." With a roar, the king's forces charged forward, and Zira's allies sprang into action. Chaos erupted as arrows flew through the air, and the sound of clashing metal filled the glade. Zira drew her own weapon, her heart pounding in sync with the battle cry of her supporters. The clash of swords echoed around her as Zira fought alongside her friends, every swing and thrust fueled by the adrenaline of battle. She moved with purpose, each strike a reminder of why she was fighting. She could see her friends defending each other, their bravery shining even in the heat of conflict. Suddenly, a figure broke through the chaos, a soldier aiming for Zira. Instinct kicked in, and she dodged to the side just in time. Her heart raced as she countered with a swift movement, disarming the soldier and pushing him away. But the danger was far from over. Amidst the fray, Zira caught a glimpse of her father, his fury radiating like a storm. He fought with unmatched ferocity, cutting through her allies like they were mere shadows. She felt a pang of pain for the man she once admired, now lost to his thirst for power. "Zira," Mara called, fighting her way toward her. "We need to regroup. We can't let him divide us." Zira nodded, determination igniting within her. "Follow me. We'll hold the line together." As they maneuvered through the battlefield, Zira and her friends fought with all their might, their spirits intertwined with every blow they landed. They defended each other, forming a shield against the oncoming storm of the king's forces. But as the battle raged on, Zira felt the weight of her father's presence drawing closer. With every clash of steel, the inevitable confrontation loomed larger in her mind. She knew that soon she would have to face him. "Zira," Mara shouted, breaking her concentration. "We have to move. They're flanking us." Zira glanced back at their group, seeing the numbers dwindle as the king's forces pushed forward. "We can't let them split us up. We need to fall back to the glade." They fought their way back, holding their ground even as the numbers against them increased. Just as they reached the heart of the glade, Zira felt a cold chill sweep through her. King Arian stood before her, his sword raised, eyes blazing with fury. "Do you truly believe you can stand against me?" he bellowed, his voice laced with disbelief. "I will end this treachery once and for all." Zira felt her heart race, fear creeping into her chest, but she stood firm. "You may be my father, but I will not allow you to destroy the lives of innocent people. I will fight for their freedom, no matter the cost." With a roar, King Arian charged forward, and the two clashed in a fierce duel. The sound of metal meeting metal rang out as they fought, a whirlwind of emotions swirling around them. Zira felt every blow as they exchanged strikes, her heart aching with the realization of what had come between them. "You were supposed to be my legacy." He spat, his strikes fueled by anger. "You were meant to lead, to uphold the throne. But you choose to betray me for these humans. They deserve a chance, Father," Zira shouted, deflecting his blow. "You've let your desire for power blind you. The people of Loria want to live without fear, without oppression." "Silence," he roared, launching another attack. Zira barely managed to block it, the force pushing her back. Just then, a shout from Mara broke through the chaos. "Zira, watch out." Zira turned to see one of the king's soldiers lunging at her from the side. In a split second, she sidestepped and countered with a swift kick, knocking the soldier down. But her distraction left her vulnerable, and King Arian seized the opportunity. "Foolish girl," he snarled, advancing on her. As their swords clashed once more, Zira felt the weight of her emotions crash over her like a wave. She wasn't just fighting her father. She was fighting for a future that didn't have to be bound by fear and control. The stakes had never been higher, and every fiber of her being screamed for victory. In that moment, Zira pushed herself harder, fueled by the courage of her friends and the hope of her people. "This ends now," she declared, channeling all her strength into a final strike. With a fierce determination, she disarmed her father, knocking his sword from his hand. He stumbled back, surprise flashing in his eyes as he realized he was vulnerable. Zira stood tall, her own weapon poised before her. "Yield, father. It's not too late to choose a better path." King Arian's face twisted in anger and disbelief, but as he looked around, he saw the chaos he had wrought, the suffering, the rebellion, the people he had once ruled with love. For a fleeting moment, doubt crossed his features. But then his pride surged back. "You think this changes anything? You will regret this day." Zira felt a wave of sorrow wash over her. "I will never regret fighting for what is right." In that instant, the tide of battle shifted. The loyalty of Zira's supporters shone through, and they surged forward, united against the remnants of the king's forces. "Together," Zira shouted, her voice echoing through the glade. "We are stronger together." As the battle raged on, Zira stood firm, her heart filled with hope and determination. The fight for their freedom was far from over, but with her allies at her side, she knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. In that moment, she felt a connection to Ithan and the earth, their destinies intertwined as they stood against the darkness. She would fight for love, for unity, and for a future where both worlds could thrive without fear. As the final clash echoed around her, Zira knew they were on the brink of a new beginning, a chance to reshape their worlds and create a legacy built on hope and freedom.